Hello, welcome. So excited to have you here. I got a question for you to kick us off. What if, imagine, what if you could make more progress on your most important projects, like your number one life goal or business key metrics or your career path peacefully? No burning out, no relying on willpower, no procrastination, perfectionism spiraling. How would that feel? Would that feel great? In this mini workshop, I'm going to walk you through how you can pattern interrupt your way to peace using body-based, neuroscience-backed practices to feel more calm and confident anywhere in just 3 minutes or less. So we're going to do it together. Does that sound good? I'm Emily Shickley, and I am so excited to be here. I'm the founder of the Compass Club, and I specialize in helping folks, busy folks, just like you, peacefully accomplish their number one life goal in 6 months or less. Things like getting promoted, starting a business, growing a business, launching a side hustle, kicking off some passion projects, maybe writing a novel. I'm doing that one right now. Or even rekindling joy in your relationships. And before we dive into all of the goodness of how you can actually pattern interrupt your way to peace, I want to share with you a fun gift. So this is normally $7, but as a thank you for watching this workshop, you can snag this for free. And that's my Choose Your Adventure Stress Relief Ritual Kit. Inside, you'll get a 12-page guide that walks you through step-by-step how to design your own stress relief ritual, as well as 2 recorded audio meditation practices that I made for you, and my list of 34 bite-sized self-care practices that you can just swap in, plug and play for calm whenever you need. So go ahead and snag that resource. It's the perfect thing to help you take what you learned today and actually make it work in your real life. Before we dive into all of the magic that I've planned for today, I'm going to quickly share a bit about my background so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. I've taught productivity and well-being workshops for places like Google, YouTube, Meta, Microsoft, and more, because even the biggest tech companies recognize that when we're stressed, we actually get less done, not more. You've probably experienced this too when you've been stressed out. We think that the stress is going to fuel us, right? We've been told to hustle harder or what have you. But in reality, when our nervous system is dysregulated, we tend to shut down or skedaddle and not actually get the thing that we need to get done well. And this is actually something that I've personally learned the hard way. I was working in edtech for about 10 years as an email marketer. And in the process of trying to hit our team's KPIs and look good enough for a promotion and juggle time with my partner and my family and my friends, I neglected my self-care and I burned out. Turns out trying to work 12-hour days week after week will do that to you, right? Will lead to all kinds of stress-induced illnesses, right? Who knew that? Now, the good news is that I'm actually going to teach you one of the absolute key things that helped me recover and eventually led, to my own peaceful success in business. Now, beyond my personal experience, I also have a lot of training in neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and energetics through multiple certifications. Those include, but are not limited to, Certified Holistic Life Coach, Neuro-Linguistic Programming or NLP practitioner, Hypnosis and Emotional Freedom Technique or EFT practitioner. I'm also a yoga and meditation teacher, a Reiki master teacher, and a practitioner in earth-based shamanism. So that's all to say that I really love bringing together the science of things and the spirit of things to create holistic solutions to help us do life better and feel good while we do that. I also am someone who stockpiles Oracle card decks. I think I have like 15 or so on my bookshelf. I was just checking. You maybe have more than that. That would be amazing. Let me know. Send me an email. I want to nerd out about that. And I'm also obsessed with romantic novels or romantic fantasy novels. And I'm even writing one right now. about a third of the way through. So stay tuned for that fun project. I also have a master's in curriculum design and English from the University of Chicago, which just means I like breaking down esoteric and strange subjects into digestible chunks for other people. And for those of you who want to know, I know there are some of you on here that do, I'm a Taurus sun, Scorpio rising, Aquarius moon, and a 3-5 sacral manifesting generator from Human Design. So now that you know all there is to know, almost all there is to know about me, let's dive into how you can actually pattern interrupt your way to peace and get the focus that you need to tackle your most important projects. Okay, so I'm going to guess that you've probably heard and experienced that stress is an inevitable part of our lives. But research shows that the way that we view stress, so our perspective on stress, directly impacts how we experience it. And the concept of neuroplasticity, which is essentially, it means that our brains have the capacity to continue to learn and grow as we age and change the way that we behave, supports this idea that while stress may be inevitable, we don't have to have it derail us all the time. And if you want to nerd out about the research behind this, check out Dr. Kelly McGonigal's work. She has a lot of interesting studies posted, shared, and she has a book called The Upside of Stress, which is a really great resource for learning about this. And the good news as a result is that regardless of which of these three scenarios you have found yourself in, we now have the ability and the capacity to stop these stress-fueled cycles in their tracks so that you can feel more calm and confident and focused. Now, I'm curious which one you've fallen into. Send me an email if you want to share. I know I've fallen into all three, and I know that there are many more, but these are oftentimes the most common ones that my clients have shared. Number one, maybe you've tried to rely on willpower to push through, even though you are super exhausted and would rather just faceplant on the couch. Maybe you forced yourself to take a big scary leap before you're ready and then collapsed. This is one I see all the time in the business world because people are told to dream bigger, but then when they actually dream bigger and push themselves to take a big leap, that is really dysregulating for the nervous system because we haven't built up the capacity to handle that. And then the third one is procrastination. So on the flip side, maybe you've procrastinated so long that you've actually missed out on the opportunity that you knew was meant for you just because you were caught in that cycle. So you're in the right place, regardless of which one. And I'm going to share with you the approach of how to actually get out of that. So the key to shift your experience of stress is to interrupt, it's called a pattern interrupt, to interrupt your normal stress behaviors like pushing through, spinning out, procrastinating, or perfectionism with a practice that communicates calm in your body's natural language. And this is key. So what I mean by that is that imagine, say, your mind or your brain speaks English, only English, no other languages, but your body speaks Portuguese and only Portuguese. There's going to be a disconnect, right? If you're trying to tell your body in English to do something, but it only speaks Portuguese. Maybe something will come through in translation, but most will be missed. And that's why you can say all of those positive affirmations that you want, like, I am calm or I am safe. But unless your body actually feels them, feels the energy of that and understands them and believes it, right? They're just going to be pretty words flowing in and out. So that's where our nervous system practice comes in, because we're going to walk through this together today of how you can actually speak the language of your body, which, big hint, is sensation, so that you can get out of stress and back into calm confidence. Sound good? Okay, let's dive in. So the way to think of this is kind of like creating a stress relief sandwich. So when you notice yourself step one is when you notice yourself going into a stressed state, you'll want to then hit pause, take yourself out of that moment, or in the moment, do a practice if you can, to communicate safety, communicate calm, and reset your energy before then 3, actually addressing what's activating you. So maybe you're feeling anxious and you're in the middle of a meeting. Before speaking up, reset your energy. Or you're about to give a presentation, reset your energy. Or you're about to post on social media or have a tough conversation. You get the idea. Reset your energy first. The reason why this is key is because then you'll actually be able to handle the thing that's been stressing you out or activating you with more ease, more grace, and more calm confidence and resilience. As a result, you can imagine, right? Those scenarios are going to go much better if you have capacity for that. Now, while there are many different ways that stress can show up in the body, there are 4 most common day-to-day stress responses that I'm going to talk about today. And those are fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And you can see they happen right at the peak of our stress cycle. So stress is like this little bell curve. I was thinking of the geometry term. So it's a bell curve, and there's a peak, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So in the middle, unconsciously, our brain kicks in and we go into survival mode. And depending on the situation, depending on personal history, depending on our trauma experiences, depending on the dynamic or the location where we are, we'll go into a stress response. So let's talk a little bit more about these 4 common stress responses. So fight is when unconsciously we believe that we can beat this, right? That we can overcome the situation. And it can show up as going into defensive mode or frustration, anger, feeling like the sense of injustice. It can show up as like heat in the body, right? And I go into more depth on all of these in the Choose Your Adventure Stress Relief Virtual Kit. So definitely check that out. This is kind of like just giving you an overview of that. Now, flight is this idea of, okay, well, I can't beat this, but maybe I can run away. So that can show up as avoidance, wanting to escape or get out, whether that's a mental escape, physical escape, numbing, thinking about fantasies, that kind of thing, or avoidance, like not looking at your money or your banking or whatever, if that is stressing you out. Then we have freeze. So that's, okay, I can't run away, I can't fight this, but maybe I can play dead. Maybe no one will notice me, I'll just lay face down on the floor. So this can show up as shutting down, maybe binge watching at home, right? Not responding to people's texts. It's kind of similar to the way I'm describing flight, but it's really a low energy type of response. And then we have fawn. So fawn is one of those kind of later responses that our nervous system developed because it shows up in interpersonal dynamics the most. And it can show up like people pleasing. So this is the idea of, okay, it's not socially acceptable for me to get into a fight, run away, or play dead. So maybe I can charm my way to safety, is how fawn will show up. Like I said, everyone is different. There are more responses. These are the most common ones, and it really depends on personal history and trauma. The key is for you to get to know you. So what is your most common response and in what scenarios, right? So maybe at work, you go into flight, but at home, you're in fight all the time. And in the Stress Relief Ritual Kit, I have a bunch of journal prompts. I call it my stress audit to help you really get clear on what it is for you. Okay, so now we're going to practice our pause, or step 2, right? So we're going to do our stress relief practice. We are not going to dance, but I do love this movie. So I'm going to stop presenting. Okay, cool. So because research shows that your range of resonance or your range of regulation or your nervous system capacity, or how regulated you are or relaxed you are, is directly correlated to your range of motion, because of the vagus nerve, I find it really helpful to do what the Neurosomatic Intelligence Institute calls a capacity check. And I like to do this before and after the stress relief ritual. The reason why is we love instant gratification. So if we don't know it's working, we don't have that like feedback, that instant feedback, we're less likely to do it again. And that's the reality. And so this capacity check gives you that feedback in a really tangible way that you can see and feel, which is so cool. Now, my favorite way to do this is with this neck twist. So let's do it together. You'll go ahead and turn your head to one side. Make sure your hair is not caught. And just notice where your gaze lands without craning your neck. And then turn your head to the other side. Again, we're not straining or pushing or lifting our shoulders, we're just looking. Find a spot on the wall or an object, and then come back to center. So that's your check, your capacity check. And then from there, my like water bottle awkwardly in the video. So from there, we're going to do the nervous system tool. And the reason why the range of motion works is because our vagus nerve, which runs down our body here, will constrict our mobility when we're dysregulated. And when we're relaxed, we have more range of motion. So that's kind of this, a brief, very brief explanation of the science behind that. Okay, so one of my favorite tools is called bilateral tapping. This is not EFT, it's not emotional tapping. This comes from the butterfly hug, which is a tool that the EMDR Institute created. And it was originally designed to help hurricane victims navigate their trauma, their flight response, back in the 60s. And since then, a bunch of therapists and coaches and counselors have taken it on and used it and taught it. And it's one of my favorite ones, so I'm going to teach it to you today. And there are a couple of alternate forms that I've played around with that are equally effective and can be really great if you're in a public space and you don't want to be obviously regulating, or if you have any sort of issues using your limbs in the way that I'm going to be showing you. So we're going to start with the original, and then I'll share the variations. So go ahead and cross your arms over your chest. So your right hand is on your left shoulder and your left hand is on your right shoulder. So opposite shoulders. And just start to tap right and left. Now, if this isn't comfortable for you to have your hands all the way up to your shoulders or on your biceps, you can bring them down to your elbows, okay? And then relax your arms. So you can't actually see me doing this right now. So if you're in a lot of virtual meetings, maybe this is a good option for you. But so I'll keep my hands up here just for the demo. So as you tap, just right, left, you're going to do this slowly. So a lot slower than maybe you think you want to go naturally. Just right and left. Good. So keep tapping. Now, as you're tapping, you may find that it's hard to pay attention to what I'm saying. And that's very true because of what this practice is doing. It's using both hemispheres of your brain. And because we're doing this repetitive movement, crossing the midline, we're actually creating a new neural pathway with repetition. And it's soothing. We can't focus on the anxiety. We can't focus on the stress. And so it's communicating to your body of like, hey, actually, there's nothing really attacking me right now. I can just breathe and I can feel the soothing, repetitive motion. Okay, so really, really nice to do that, right and left. Now, you could also do this by tapping your lap. So you can cross your hands and just gently tap your legs. Again, nice and slow. Maybe see if you like that variation. You can keep them uncrossed if you want, but again, it's going to be stronger if it's crossed because it's more confusing for your brain. You can also cross your ankles and tap your feet against the floor or your shoes, moving your toes. Again, if you're standing, you can do the standing without crossing. You can just tap your toes, your big toe or all of your toes, whichever is the most relaxing for you. And just alternating right and left. So you can imagine, right, if you're giving a presentation, so keep tapping as I'm talking. If you're giving a presentation, you could just do this while you're talking, or maybe a few minutes before if that's distracting. You can also do this in your lap when you're attending a virtual meeting. No one will know, right? You're out getting groceries and you're standing in line, tapping your toes. No one will know, right? So that's why I love this practice. And then, of course, you can do this for yourself. Maybe you're in your own space right before bed. So nice. Laying on a yoga mat, whatever feels good. So you can stop tapping now. And let's just go ahead and check your capacity. So turn your head again to one side. Whoa. I don't know if you can tell on the screen if you're watching me, but I moved at least like 5 inches doing this. More so on the right than the left. So you would want to do it again to have a more even response. And you can imagine, right? We were just doing this as I was talking. If you did this for 2 minutes, just nice and calm by yourself, you probably even have a greater range of motion. Now, if you didn't have a big range of motion shift, or even a little bit, then this is just not a high payoff tool for you. And I recommend you check out the Choose Your Adventure Stress Relief Ritual Guide, because that has a bunch of different practices that you can just swap in and figure out which ones actually make the difference. Because again, we're all different, right? We're going to have different responses, and it's going to change day to day. So cool. So I'm going to share my slides again to just kind of recap how you would actually use this. Okay. So step 1, build awareness of how stress shows up for you. Again, there's a stress audit in the free kit that you can get. And then just continue to notice how it shows up in your life. Step 2 is pause. Either step away, or if you can do it during the moment, you can do that. Try the bilateral tapping or swap in a different practice from the list of practices that I have in the guide that you can get. And then step 3 is you want to start integrating a proactive stress relief practice. Excuse me, one second. What I mean by that is something daily that happens regularly to help you build your stress capacity over time, your resilience over time. And the reason why this is important, beyond just doing this in the moment when you're stressed, is because if we only plan to do it in the moment when we're stressed, we're going to be less successful. And that's because we're stressed, right? So it's harder to remember to do things when we're out of balance than when we're relaxed. And so you can think of it like training for a half marathon or a 10K or a marathon, whatever the distance is that feels like a lot for you. So imagine you sign up for this race tomorrow and you have done no training, no running, nothing. It's going to be a lot of effort, right, for you to even convince yourself to go do this race, let alone finish it without injury. But if you trained regularly and you planned the race a few months out or even a year out, right, and you got better and better day after day, you'd be unstoppable when you hit the starting line. And I want that for you with your stress relief. That's where this proactive stress relief ritual practice comes in. And so that's why I have this as a gift for you. Simple as that. So normally $7. Again, you can snag this just for free, just for you for free. It's a 12-page guide. It has a stress audit. It has a kind of plug and play framework of how you can build your ritual for different stress responses. It has a primer about the different stress responses. And it also includes links to 2 audio practices. One walks you through 5 different nervous system regulation tools. So you can just like plug in and de-stress. And then the other one is like a super short grounding meditation that you can listen to. And then I also have a list of 34 of my go-to stress relief practices that are categorized based on the type of response. So it's a really great toolkit to take what you've learned here today and actually integrate it into your life. So go ahead and snag that, and I'll see you in your inbox. I'll give you some tips, and feel free to reply or send me an email at any time to hello@mindbodydharma.com. And that's also on the website, the link where the kit is. And that's it, my friend. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was supportive. And just remember, you have the capacity to change how you experience stress. Key takeaway. It's possible. So hopefully this practice can give you a head start with that. And I'll see you in the self-care stress relief ritual kit. Losing my words here at the end. And again, thank you so much. I appreciate you.